Hello, I'm Christie. Today I'm going to show you how I turned these chairs and this little table into a beautiful black and gold bistro set. This Show Me the Money bistro set was inspired by this Wayfair table. It's crazy what they're charging for their version. I was able to dupe that look for a fraction of the cost, and I even had two caneback chairs that I refinished to go along with the table. Stay tuned till the end of the video for a breakdown of the numbers. These chairs were bought at a thrift store. They had been somebody's project, but they didn't end up following through with it. So I jumped on it. The previous owners had removed the old cushions and built a new wood base for the seats. I had plans already forming in my mind as soon as I saw these chairs. They had a lot of potential. The very first step to the refinishing of these chairs is to give them a light sanding, also known as a scuff sand. We are using a 220 grit sandpaper on a random orbital sander. But you could do this by hand if you don't own a sander. It just really decreases the time if you do. I love mine. After lightly going over all of the painted surfaces, we used a microfiber cloth to dust off the chairs. I just loved the shape of these chairs, and the cane backs are just beautiful. They're super trendy right now. After dusting, we washed everything down with some Dawn dish soap. If you want to really make your pieces work out well, you have to clean them. Get all the grease and sand and dust off. Once that was completely dry, we were able to move on to the fun part, starting the painting. So we started off priming the pieces with just a standard primer. And then we changed direction and decided to use spray paint, so the priming process wasn't really necessary because you don't need primer with spray paint. So we kind of wasted time on the primer, so we didn't really show that part. But then we move on to the fun part. The first part we decided to paint was all of the portions that were going to be gold. We decided to paint the cane parts with this Rust-Oleum metallic gold. We will list the description of the supplies in the comments below, but on camera it's really hard to see the gold on the cane because it's so similar in color, but it sparkles and it's so pretty in person. It's just hard to capture it on camera. At this point of the painting process, we weren't concerned about getting gold paint where it's not supposed to go because we know we're planning on taping off the gold section while we paint the wood section. So here we are getting ready to tape the gold after it completely dried. We masked around it. It's really just a Walmart grocery bag. We taped it down, taped it really good, and then we get to start painting the dark. It's a charcoal color Rust-Oleum hammered metal. Actually, it's black, but we will list the color in the comments below. So now we're painting the bottoms of the chairs, the rest of the chair, and it's looking so pretty. For the second chair, we took it outside because the lighting was better, hopefully. And there I had some drips that I just kind of wiped with my finger. And yeah, it was coming along. Now for my very favorite part is taking the masking tape off. We're so excited and hoping that it did its job. And yes, bam, we take it off and it looks great. It really turned out perfectly and it did its job. It makes me so happy. So here we are taking off the back, and the gold just looked so good next to the black. So happy with it. So there we got that chair, and here's the second chair. Taking off the plastic and the tape. Just so satisfying. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Okay, now we're gonna start making the cushions. We used a memory foam pillow. It was an old pillow we weren't using anymore. I wanted to get it right in the center, so I counted all the little lines of dots, and there was 14 of them. So on the 7th one, I just tried to cut between the two. Now I used my turkey carving knife for this part, which cuts through foam so nicely. It really makes it awesome. So here we are, we're just cutting it right in half. And then, I'll explain later, but we discovered that we could have done it a whole different way and done it more perfectly, but it worked. So anyway, I'm cutting down through, and it's not hard to cut. I just wanted to be careful to get it centered. Super easy to cut with a turkey carving knife. Now we were going to measure the cushion to the seat, and there was a little, it wasn't quite wide enough. So we're thinking, oh, we'll just cut off a piece and make it fit. Not a problem, but then my daughter, who's been helping me with this whole project, Kristen, she said, maybe we should cut that cushion in half. Again, this, because it was so thick. We didn't need it to be such a thick cushion. So here I am cutting it right on the seam to cut it in half again. And then we were realizing if we would have cut the pillow in half that direction first, we could have made it fit the seat exactly and not have to piece another piece in there, but it worked out this way. But you live and you learn. But we are recycling, and I am happy about that because this pillow is just sitting there not being used, and foam is pretty pricey, so I'm glad we could recycle it. Now here we're just gonna piece it to make it go all the way to the back of the seat. So I had to cut off another piece and then cut that in half. But, it worked. So now we've got all the pieces going clear to the back of the seat, and I grabbed some quilt batting to wrap around the whole thing just to make it a little more secure and a little softer, just more professional. And we always have quilt batting around because we are a family of quilters. Learned those things from our grandmothers and our mother. Now you wrap it around to the back and get a staple gun and pull it tight and start stapling in the center. Here I'm getting my daughter's assistance because another set of hands is always helpful. And we're stapling, and then you pull tight to staple on the other side. And then on the middles of the sides. And then just keep going around and making it as smooth as possible and as tight as you can. Alright, now we're moving on to the upholstery part. And here I'm recycling some more. I had these curtains that I had made when we moved into our home here. And this fabric was really expensive upholstery fabric, upholstery drapery fabric. Here I'm making sure I've got the center stripe right in the center of the seat and stapling it down. And then I want to make sure that the stripe matches up with the other side before we staple that, and you pull it really tight. You don't want it to pucker at all. And staple it down. Definitely helpful to have two people. Anyway, I recycled my old curtain fabric for these chairs. I knew that I would want to use it somewhere, somehow, because I couldn't see just throwing away all this fabric that was good, but I had changed my curtains in my dining room and just kept the fabric for future projects. And here is my first project I'm using it on. Now we're just pulling tight around all the edges, and then on the corners you just kind of miter them and make them look good. Staple them down. Oops, one more little side. There, now you check and make sure it looks good on the other side, and then pull it tight and staple it. Just continue around until you've got all your corners done. And then we will cut off the excess fabric there so it doesn't bunch up and cause problems under the chair. So you wouldn't want it hanging down, that would just look horrible. Yay, it's done. And now with magic, we will have the other one done like that. Bam. Yay. And so that's the chair number 2. Same process as the first. Pretty happy with it. And I have refinished chair cushions before, but not with all recycled stuff, so I was pretty proud of myself. Now to attach it to the chair, we just slide it into place and pop it down, and it looks pretty good. Now to drill, these chairs hadn't been attached with screws previously, so I had to drill a pilot hole with my little drill here. Just a pilot hole is a small hole that you can make so that your screw will go in easier. You always want it to be smaller than the actual screw you're going to use. So anyway, screwed down in there, I had to switch drills, my battery died on the other one. And then I was having issues. Then the drill bit got stuck. We got it though, we fixed it. See that? The drill bit stuck in the corner. We got it out. I don't know. Some days projects just do that. Everything seems to go wrong some days. But we got it, and then we just screwed on the seats. Here we are screwing in the screws. And they go in really easy if you do a pilot hole first. So that's a nice little trick. Now on to stage 2 of our makeover here. We're doing the table. And this was just a cheap little table that we got at Goodwill, I believe, for $5. So I took the legs out and I spray painted them the same color as the chairs so that it'll match. Then for the tabletop, we were going to do kind of an acrylic pour, marbleized top. So that's what we're working on here. And it's my first attempt at doing this. I'd watched lots of videos on it, but I made some mistakes. But we tried, and it did turn out looking really cool. But in the end, we had to completely change it because, well, just watch and I'll explain as we go. Here I am trying to smooth out the paint, and it was so hot outside. It was in the 90s, and the paint was trying to dry way too fast, even though for this, you add water to the paint and to thin it out a little bit to try and do an acrylic pour. And this is supposed to be the base to help make it all smooth. The hairdryer is supposed to help move the paint, but it was just so hot it wasn't budging outside. I don't know. But anyway, we had fun. My daughters and I, and even my granddaughter got involved. Here we're pouring different colors of paint, and I'll explain this process in a whole different video, but here you kind of get a little idea. We're pouring, there's gold, there's blue, and there's white, and a little black that we're adding. But the gold really pops and it's so pretty. So here we are, just pouring rings and rings, and here the blow dryer is what makes the magic happen. You blow out the top and just keep going until you like it. And then if you go in different directions, it causes different paint to come forward from those rings. It's pretty fun, really, and it turned out really cool. Here we're using a little skewer to make little marks. You can just make veins and stuff, whatever you want. My little granddaughter right there helping. We just had a lot of fun creating this, and it looked so pretty in the end. But we weren't able to actually use it in the end, sadly. Now here, there's my little grandson too. We were blowing on it to, you can blow it with your mouth to make little subtle changes to, if there's a spot you don't really like, you can blow on it and change it. And it takes some good lungs to do that. But that's why our heads are down there. You're blowing on it, and it's pretty fun creation. Okay, now for the legs. After those legs were dry, I poured some of the gold paint that was on the tabletop into a little cup and dipped the bottoms of the legs into the paint. Then you have to let it sit and drip for a while. And here they are. I put them on some parchment paper, actually, to dry. And there's the tabletop that I ended up doing. It's not the same as the one I just showed you. This one is with, I did gold and black only, because the other one unfortunately cracked, and so I had to just scrape it off and start over. And then I just decided to go with black and gold. So I will show how I do a similar tabletop like this in a previous video, or in a future video. But there it is. There's the table legs with the gold dipped bottoms. The top I finished with a stone coat epoxy, and I will show how to do that in another video. But it's smooth, shiny, really pretty. And it's sturdy. It's like scratch resistant, heat resistant, you name it. It'll withstand a lot of things. And here's the finished product, all staged and ready to put on Facebook Marketplace. It was a great project, and it wasn't very much when it comes to price. We did a pretty good job. So the chairs, I paid $12 each. So $24 for the chairs, and the table was $5. If I would have had to buy the foam for the cushions and the fabric as well, my price still would have been pretty good. But because I had some supplies on hand, my cost was kept under $40. To buy a new upholstered cane back chair is very pricey as well. Cane back chairs are really trendy, and they go for a lot of money. I love recycling whenever I can, giving things a new life and saving hundreds of dollars in the process while coming up with my own version of a Wayfair dupe. That just makes me really happy. I want to thank everybody for watching this, and just share this out where you can. Like it, subscribe, comment below, and I will have all of the products that I used in the description box below. I just need to give a shout out to my son Kyler for his awesome music he composed for us. You can find him on Soundcloud by typing in 5 lowercase t 3 1 th, otherwise known as stealth. See what he did there? Or you can type in his name, Kyler Michaelson, in the search, and you can find his music. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it doesn't have to be perfect to be awesome.